her skin and show you how to do her skin, and it's quite fun. What we're going to do is we're going to focus on the shadows first, and then we'll work our way towards the highlights. So what you're going to need to do is get out a terracotta red or a sienna brown. Let me just find the right pencil. So we're going to use a sienna brown, and we're going to go into our shadowed areas. Now I'm not using my darkest color yet. I will do that shortly. I first want to build up the shadows. I want to see where my shadows are, and I'm going to work on that. Now I'm using Prismacolors for this because I really enjoy Prismas for skin. I find they create a lovely smooth texture, and with skin, especially with these sort of illustrations, I do find I prefer giving them a very youthful and perfect skin tone instead of focusing on instead of rushing it. For skin to look really good, you want to take your time. So we're going to take our time with this, and we're not going to rush, and we're going to really enjoy the process. And again, you've got the grayscale to guide you, so a lot of the hard work is done for you. And instead of pressing hard, if you want to deepen the shadowed area, you just go over it several times. And you can deepen up the very deeper shadows. So again, little circles, lighter where it's not so dark, and you go darker where the darker shadow is. Now we're going to use this on all of her body where it's got dark shadows. So here, now under the lip is always a bit darker. So you want to really make sure that's a bit darker. inside the nostrils. I apologize if my voice sounds a bit cracked and croaky. I've been struggling today with my voice. I've still got this niggly cough. And some days it's okay, and other days it's not like I've got a scratchy throat or a sore throat. It just needs to be cleared every now and then, so it's very froggy. So I do apologize for that if you do hear it. I have got a drink with me, so I've got a cup of coffee, decaf coffee, and hopefully that will help keep it. Although I'm so bad, I often tend to forget about my coffee, so I'm regularly heating it up. I've already heated this cup of coffee up. Alright, so here, as you can see, I'm putting in the shadow of her arm because this scarf is actually going to be see-through. So I want to create that see-throughness by putting the layers of her skin as well. But I'm not going to build them up as much as I am the rest of her body because it's not as deep. It's covered. But you do need them there to show that she's got an arm. So I've tried to zoom you in enough that you can see, but also to keep her whole body in the camera so you can see what I'm doing on the whole body. So again, I'm just going over the shadowed areas with the beige sienna, and I'm just building up the layers. And once her skin is done, we can then decide what color hair to give her. But she could look really lovely with black hair. She might also look really lovely with light hair. So we'll just see how her skin develops before we decide on any hair color. Now don't worry if her skin looks very dark when we're done. It all balances out as you carry on with the picture. What I would like to say is if you need to, do feel free to speed up the video. I am doing more real-time color alongs, so I do tend to go quiet as I color in. So you can either just mute me or fast forward the video. I mean, just make it however you need it to be to enjoy the coloring process. Okay. So I will do the same thing with her hand, and then I will show you how to do the rest of it. So now I'm going to take some dark brown and go into the very deep shadows and just deepen them up. Here under her chin. So you've got under the armpit, it will cast quite a deep shadow. Here where her dress is touching her arm will cause quite a shadow. You want a bit more shadow here in the bone area, on the edge of the neck here, under the chin, up here, on this area here. So it's just also about remembering where you saw very deep shadow. So along here, here in this crease, we'll have quite a shadow. Because what you're really looking at is you're layering up. You want to keep your shadows and your highlights defined, and that will help you keep the contours of the portrait's body and face and that sort of thing. And if you lose those, it's going to frustrate you potentially. So you want to try and keep the deep shadows deep and then work on the light shadows. So under here on the finger, over here in this corner of the eye, this was very dark, and the crease of the eyelid will also have quite a deep shadow. Along this line here. Now this is looking very brown and not at all skin-like, and that's okay because all we've done is shadowed areas. We will now bring in some of the lighter tones. So that's the dark brown, and now what we can do is bring in some light umber. And what we're going to do is go over all these dark shadows and out a bit. So I'm actually doing skin backwards right now. I'm not doing it at all from light to dark. I'm actually going from dark to light. But what I'm really focusing on is defining my shadows. Now I don't want to do a whole lot of work here on her eyes because I want to bring in some other colors. So I'm going to give her a bit, I don't even know what color I'm going to give her eyes, or even if I don't generally give my girls makeup. I tend to, even in real life at home, I don't wear a lot of makeup. I like the more natural look. So I tend to do my portraits in a similar way. That's not to say that makeup is bad, or that I'm against it. It's just, I like the natural look. So I tend to go for that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to make the skin all complicated with too many yellows and oranges or greens and blues, even though that is a very fun way of adding depth and dimension to a portrait. I want to keep this simple and fun for you. I don't want to overwhelm you with information or different colors, because I remember when I was learning skin, and I first saw somebody using blues and purples and greens and oranges, it was overwhelming. And what I really needed initially was just a basic skin combo. So that's what I'm hoping to give you in this tutorial or this color along. It's just really something that feels manageable and doable. You can use this sort of thing with any color set. You just need a dark brown, a reddish brown, like a terracotta, a yellowish brown. So you're just mixing your browns, your light yellow ochres, for instance, and then we'll go into some pinks and some reds and then some whites. And the white will work as a blending tool, and it will also soften the color. So I'm hoping that this will help encourage you, that you can get really good tone in your skin for your portraits without going into the more intermediate to advanced techniques of using unusual colors. Yes, the unusual colors are important and you do need them, but they are overwhelming if you're a beginner and you just want to get your head around the concept of skin taking multiple layers instead of just one pencil. So I'd rather just go slow and steady and encourage you than overwhelm you. There's a time when you're ready for all those advanced techniques, you'll go looking for the right tutorials and you'll find the right channel, and it will work and you'll be ready for it and it will be fun. But if you're not ready for it, then it's just not worth the discouragements and the overwhelm that is easy to come by. So let's keep this relatively simple. So when I'm done with this, what I'm going to do is go in and get some pinks, and we're going to bring in some pinks to this. Because you may be looking at this and thinking, what the heck are you doing? Are you creating dark skin? No, she's going to have fair skin. And this isn't the right picture for dark skin. But we do need a bit of pink. So what we're going to do is bring in a little bit of Nectar, which starts with pink, but it has a bit more grey to it. So we just add some of this pink. So this is Nectar, very lovely color to work with. And we're just going to carry on building these layers. And as you can see, I'm still going light. And because we're adding some pink, it's going to really start to just liven her skin up. Now here in the this highlight here, I want to go very lightly because I wanted to have a touch of pink, but I also wanted to be quite light. So here you want to be very, very light with your color. And then here where you go over in the shadows, you can just be a bit more of a medium to light pressure. So basically, I want to keep the yellow part that I'm going to add in a very light yellow, and I want to see what it does, because sometimes you can have skin where it's quite yellowy, but if you go too yellow it can look jaundiced, and we don't really want her to look like she's got jaundice. We want her to have vibrant, lively skin. So I'm going to use eggshell, but you can use an ivory or a cream. It will work just as well. Okay, so again, you do want to try and keep your pencil sharp because it just helps. And I'm going to go over everything again, but this time I'm going to come a bit more into the white area. So as you can see, the skin does start to change, and there's a warmth that comes when you add yellow. So you do want to have yellow undertones or yellow in your color combo, because it does help to just liven and warm up the skin tone. And don't worry if you lose some of your highlights, that we can use an eraser just to pick up some pigments and redefine your highlighted areas. As you can see here on the nose, I'm losing and on the chin, I've lost a bit of those highlights. Okay, so I'm going to do the same principle on the rest of the body, and then I'll get back to you with the next step. So now what we're needing is a bit more of that sienna brown. We need to bring in a bit more redness into the shadowed areas. So we're just going to do that right now. And we might even actually bring in a bit of, we're going to bring in a little bit of Tuscan Red up here in the shadows. So I'm just feeling it needs a bit more red in here. Now we're not going to use it hard, we're going to use a light pressure. So the Terra Tuscan Red in the very darker shadows. And just build it up lightly. If you need more, just go over it lightly. Alright, so some of the other areas we're going to use Sienna Brown. Now here in this part I've left out the skin, so I'm just going to quickly touch this up. Okay, so now we're going to bring in some pink, and I just want some blush pink initially, and I just want to warm this up a bit. I'm also going to bring in a bit more oranges and yellows, and the reason I'm doing this is because it's looking, how do I put it, quite grey and not very warm. So we want to bring in some of those oranges and yellows just to help create a bit more of a vibrancy to the skin. The dark sections are looking quite good, which is what we want, but we do need a bit more vibrancy here. Now, if you're preferring a slightly paler sort of skin tone, that's also okay. For me though, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking it's coming along really nicely, but I would be quite happy to just add a bit more of a yellow tinge to her. Now you may notice that I've already worked on one of the wings and a bit of the background, and that's just because I've been filming this in a few episodes. So I stopped filming and then now I've come back, and in between that I was just looking at how was I going to do the wings, what colors did I want to do to get my head around it. So as soon as we're done with the skin, I'll move on to the wings in the background and show you how I've been doing that and what I've been using. Now I'm not needing to put this pink completely in the shadows. I'm kind of going into the shadows and out a bit. And again, just a light to medium pressure. Now inside this transparent shawl she's wearing, we're going to make that white, and what we're going to do is we're going to make it see-through. So we will use different some grays for the see-throughness and a lot of white. We'll take a white pencil and we'll just go over all the skin tone underneath and just mute it down. So as you can see through this process of doing skin tone, we start laying down our highlights and our shadowed areas, and then we will build up. Sometimes we'll do more yellow tones, and then we have to balance it with browner reddish tones, just depending on the kind of feel we're going for. And the type of pencils you choose will also determine what type of undertone you place down for the skin tone. Now obviously this takes time, and I'd really encourage you as much as possible not to rush skin tone, but to take your time building it up, because the more layers you put on, the more it will blend, and the richer the skin tone is going to look. Right, now I'm going to bring in some salmon pink on her cheeks here. And I'm going to bring my eraser in because I feel like this section here is just a bit too built up. I'd like a little bit more shadow here. Not shadow, sorry, highlight. So I'm going to get out my cream. And I'm going to start working at just blending this out. And maybe some peach. I have to work at this just to build it up and smoothen out. Right, now I want my salmon pink. Alright, and then in circular motion some more of this cream. This is cream. And I'm going to take the cream around the edges of my highlights. Okay, and then here what I want to do is bring in a little bit of Goldenrod, and I'm just going to warm this up a bit here. So I'm warming up these shadowed areas. But I'm not going to necessarily do everywhere. Just want to bring a bit of warmth to her face. And then I'm going to do the same over here in some of this area. And I'm just using it sparingly. I'm not going to put it into the areas where she has got her shawl. Up here we'll need some nice warmth. And if you're wondering how do I know this, honestly I'm just guessing. I'm just playing around, kind of going and seeing, okay, what's striking me, where is it pulling my attention, where I want my focus to be. I have no reference photo for this, so I'm just using my imagination right now. Over here, that palm is facing up, so it will catch some lighting. Okay, and then a bit more salmon pink. The salmon pink is quite a warm color. It's sort of like peach and pink and yellow combined together, so it will work quite nicely. Okay, so now I want to bring in a bit more brown, so I'm going to bring in some dark umber into my deeper shadows here, and that's just going to help redefine my shadows, make sure I'm not losing them. Very sparingly there, but quite dark under here. Alright, we are getting very close to needing to burnish this. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a light peach and I'm going to work on blending this out, and we'll see how does it look. So here I want to go in small circular motions. Now my light peach it has a bit of that yellow undertone. And just take your time with it. The slower you go and the more of a circular motion, the less likely you are to get very harsh lines or a grainy look to your skin. Now, if you wanted a slightly muted, you could use a white pencil instead of a light peach, which we will use a white pencil in here. Now, if I take a white pencil, which I'm just going to use a stub, because my one white pencil is really small, but I don't want to get out a new pencil just yet. But we can use a little pencil extender. Okay, so I have my white pencil, and if I go in this white highlight, and I can blend that out like this. And it will help me keep my white highlights. Just remove any blemishes. Okay, and then up here. So you're just going to put this white pencil in all your highlighted area. And I'm using a medium pressure. Just very lightly over here. And just put your white pencil everywhere you want a white highlight. And then, because you do want some white highlight on her body. Okay, and then come back in with your light peach. So what I've noticed with Prismacolor and skin tone, you want to try and keep your blending color. So if I want to blend out my highlight, like I did there, I use the white pencil to keep my white highlight, and then I'm going around it with my light peach, and that's just to help me keep my the definition of my shadows and my highlights defined. Because previously, especially on Amazon type paper, I have lost those definitions because I've taken the same pencil and I've gone into everything. And by keeping my lighter shades in the lighter areas into the midtones, it helps me keep that definition. So it's just a personal sort of observation. I may be wrong, it's just what I found. So like here, I'm losing my shadow, so I'm going to have to come in again with my burnt umbers and my light umbers and just build that up. I'm going over that white highlight with this light peach just to keep it highlighted but not a glaring white. Okay, so here I need my white pencil again, just to help redefine this. Okay, white pencil again on this side. Wrong pencil, sorry. Light peach again. White, oopsie daisy. White again here. Okay, so now if I bring in some terracotta into here, just very lightly. Now the terracotta is a bit of an orange undertone and red. So I don't mind putting it in here, but then I'm going to go over it with a dark umber. And then I'm going to blend it out with the peach. Okay, so here again I want my dark umber, and I'm just trying to keep my colors balanced and bright even though I'm blending it. So now I'm layering again on top of what I've blended. And I'm trying to stick to the grayscale. I didn't like that. Okay, and then again down here. All right, let's go in with the light peach here. And go over this, and it will just mute it down and blend it out. Okay, so terracotta here. And then dark brown, dark umber. Then back in with your terracotta. Some clay rose, because it's not a very deep shadow. And then ever so lightly some dark umber, but very light because we don't really need a lot of it. And then you can use some peach just to help blend that out. Then from there you can use your light peach. And you see I'm not going over into the shadow because I blended the shadow out with the peach. I'm going around it now. And it's just holding those tonal values so much better instead of blending them into each other. Alright, then here I can take some light some cream. And some white in here and in over that cream, just to help blend it out. And you can see that the shadowed areas are staying shadowy and the highlighted or the lighter areas are staying light. We can bring in some peach in here. And then some light peach. Some cream. Okay, so same principle. Let's start off with a light peach here and just work on blending this out. Okay, so we need some terracotta in here. Then you can always use a bit of clay rose. And then some peach. And then you can have some cream. Because cream can also work as a highlighter. It doesn't always have to be white. And then light peach here. And just put back in a little bit of your umber. So that was dark umber, then a little bit of terracotta. Then followed by light, followed by peach. And then light peach. Okay, then we want some cream here. Then white. Alright, let's do some peach in here. Okay, then light peach. And then a bit of cream. And some white. Just scratch your white off every now and then, just so you have a clean white pencil. Otherwise you can get smudges in your skin, and that's not going to be very beneficial for you. Alright, light peach here. Alright, I want a bit of peach in these shadowy areas. And I'm going to bring in my dark umber to redefine my shadows. As you can see, they're kind of getting lost a little. So bring in my dark umber. And then a cream, which will go over with white. Okay, some clay rose here, because these shadows are looking a little bit sparse.